My brother tried to ruin my wedding because I refused to make him best man due to years of abuse toward my fiancée. I had security remove him when he grabbed the microphone during reception. I am getting married in 3 months to my fiancée Rebecca, 28F, and I need to know if I'm making the right call here. My parents have been calling me nonstop for the past 2 weeks because I told them my cousin Hendrix, 29M, would be my best man instead of my brother Nathan, 32M. They say it goes against family tradition and that I am being cruel and ungrateful. My mother called me 6 times yesterday alone. The tradition in our family is that the oldest son is always the best man for his younger brother. My grandfather did it for his brother back in the 1950s, my dad did it for his brother in the 1980s, and Nathan was expecting the same from me. My parents keep saying that breaking this tradition will humiliate Nathan in front of everyone at the wedding. They claim extended family members will think something terrible happened between us. My father told me last week that I would regret this decision for the rest of my life. Here is the problem though. Nathan has been terrible to everyone around him since we were kids. He has anger problems that nobody in my family wants to acknowledge. When we were growing up, he would scream at me for using his Xbox controller or for sitting in what he considered his spot on the couch. One time when I was 12, I accidentally spilled juice on his homework and he chased me around the house throwing whatever he could grab. My mother stepped in and told me to apologize. She made me rewrite his entire homework assignment while he sat there watching TV. This pattern continued into adulthood. Nathan moved out when he was 25, but he still comes to family dinners twice a month. During these dinners, he criticizes everything. Last Christmas, my mother spent 3 days preparing a ham with her special glaze recipe. Nathan took one bite and said it tasted like cardboard. He then spent 10 minutes explaining how she should have cooked it differently. My mother just nodded and said she would try his method next time. The worst part is how he treats Rebecca. She has tried so hard to be friendly with him. When Nathan moved into his new apartment 2 years ago, Rebecca helped him unpack boxes for an entire Saturday. She organized his kitchen and even bought him a housewarming plant. The following week at Sunday dinner, Nathan made a comment about how the plant was already dying because Rebecca clearly did not know anything about taking care of things. Rebecca did not say anything back. She just kept eating her food. Another time, Rebecca baked cookies for Nathan's birthday and drove them to his apartment. She used a recipe that took 4 hours because the dough needed to chill twice. Nathan opened the container, looked at the cookies, and told her they looked store-bought. He asked if she was trying to pass off grocery store cookies as homemade. Rebecca left his apartment and cried in the car for 20 minutes. I only found out about this 6 months later because she did not want to cause problems in my family. Nathan's behavior is not limited to Rebecca. He treats waitstaff at restaurants like they are beneath him. Last year, we went to a steakhouse for my father's birthday. Our waiter was probably 19 years old and was clearly new. He forgot to bring Nathan's side of mashed potatoes with his steak. Nathan called him incompetent and demanded to see the manager. He told the manager that the waiter should be fired because someone that stupid should not be allowed around customers. My parents said nothing. They sat there and finished their meals while this kid stood near our table looking like he wanted to disappear. I have tried talking to Nathan about his behavior multiple times over the years. When I was 23, I asked him why he felt the need to tear everyone down. He told me I was too sensitive and that he was just being honest. He said that if people could not handle the truth, that was their problem. When I pushed back and said there was a difference between honesty and cruelty, he called me a weak coward who would never amount to anything. That conversation ended with him storming out of the coffee shop where we were meeting. My parents have always excused his behavior. My mother says Nathan was born with a difficult temperament and that we all need to be patient with him. My father says Nathan is successful in his sales job, which proves he knows how to deal with people. What they do not see is that Nathan's coworkers probably hate him. He has mentioned being passed over for promotions 3 times in the past 5 years. He blames office politics every time. The reason I chose Hendrix as my best man is simple. Hendrix has been there for me during every major moment in my life. When I was applying to colleges, Hendrix spent hours helping me write my essays. When I got my first job, Hendrix drove 3 hours to help me move into my new apartment. When I met Rebecca, Hendrix was the first person I told because I knew he would be genuinely happy for me. Hendrix has never made me feel small or stupid. He has never insulted Rebecca. He showed up to help us move into our house last year and stayed until midnight assembling furniture. After I told my parents about my decision 2 weeks ago, things got worse. My mother called Rebecca and told her that she needed to convince me to change my mind. She said that Rebecca was causing a rift in our family and that a good wife would want her husband to honor his family traditions. Rebecca handed me the phone without saying a word. I told my mother that this was my decision and that Rebecca had nothing to do with it. My mother hung up on me. My father tried a different approach. He invited me to lunch and spent an hour explaining why this tradition mattered. He said that family bonds were more important than personal feelings. He told me that Nathan had been looking forward to being my best man since I got engaged. He said that I was breaking Nathan's heart and that I would destroy our relationship permanently. I asked my father if he remembered the time Nathan told me at Thanksgiving that I had wasted my life by becoming a teacher instead of going into business. My father said Nathan was just trying to motivate me. Nathan himself has not said anything to me directly. He has not called or texted. Instead, he has been posting things on social media about loyalty and brotherhood. Last week, he posted a quote about how blood is thicker than water and how real family stands by each other no matter what. 15 people liked it, including my mother. Rebecca asked me yesterday if I was sure about my decision. She said she did not want to be the reason I had problems with my family. I told her that Nathan had problems with everyone long before she came into the picture. I also told her that the thought of Nathan standing next to me at the altar made me sick. He would find some way to make the day about himself. He would probably make a speech about how he taught me everything I know or how I would be lost without his guidance. The entire wedding would become the Nathan show. My parents called again this morning. They said that Nathan was deeply hurt and that I needed to reconsider. They suggested a compromise where both Hendrix and Nathan could be co-best men. I said no. The idea of Nathan having any special role in my wedding makes me want to cancel the whole thing. My mother started crying and said I was tearing the family apart. She said that people at the wedding would ask questions and that she would not know what to tell them. I told her she could tell them the truth. She hung up. I am standing firm on this. Hendrix will be my best man. Nathan will be invited as a regular guest if he wants to come, but he will not stand next to me during the ceremony. My parents can accept it or not show up. Rebecca deserves a wedding day where she does not have to worry about being insulted or belittled. I deserve a best man who actually cares about me. Am I wrong for this? Update 1: The situation has gotten much worse than I expected. My original post got a lot of responses telling me I was making the right decision, which helped me feel less crazy about the whole thing. But I need to share what happened after that post because it went completely off the rails. About a week after I posted, my Aunt Hannah, 55F, called me. She is my mother's sister and has always been reasonable compared to the rest of my family. She asked if we could meet for coffee without telling my parents. I agreed because I thought maybe she wanted to offer support. We met at a coffee shop near her house. Hannah ordered 2 coffees and then pulled out her phone. She showed me screenshots of a group chat that my mother had created with about 20 family members. The chat was called Family Crisis and my mother had been sending messages in it for days. The messages were all about me refusing to make Nathan the best man. My mother had written paragraphs about how I was betraying family values and how Rebecca was manipulating me. She told everyone that Rebecca had always been jealous of Nathan's success and that she was trying to isolate me from my real family. The messages got worse. My mother had sent photos of Nathan from when we were kids. There were pictures of us at baseball games and birthday parties. She wrote captions under each one about how Nathan had always looked out for me and protected me. She told a story about how Nathan had scared off some bullies in middle school, which never actually happened. I was never bullied in middle school. Nathan was usually the one making fun of me. Hannah said she wanted me to know what was happening before the wedding. She said most of the family members in that chat were just reading the messages and not responding. A few had sent supportive messages to my mother saying that traditions were important. My uncle Clark, 58M, had written that younger generations did not respect family anymore. My cousin Lillian, 35F, had sent a sad face emoji. I thanked Hannah for showing me. She said she was not taking sides but that she thought I should know my mother was working hard to turn people against me. She also said that Nathan had been at my parents' house every evening that week. They were having family meetings that I was not invited to. That same evening, Rebecca got a message from a number she did not recognize. The message said that Rebecca was a homewrecker and that she should be ashamed of herself for destroying a family. The message said Rebecca would regret trying to come between brothers. Rebecca showed me the message and asked if I thought it was Nathan. I told her I did not know, but that I would find out. I called Nathan for the first time in months. He answered on the 5th ring. I asked him directly if he had sent that message to Rebecca. He laughed and said he did not know what I was talking about. Then he said that maybe someone else in the family was tired of watching her poison my mind against them. I asked him what he meant by that. He said Rebecca had clearly gotten into my head because the old me would never disrespect family traditions like this. I hung up. The next day, my father came to our house without calling first. He knocked on the door at 7 in the morning on a Saturday. I was still in my pajamas when I answered. He said he needed to talk to me man to man. I let him in and Rebecca went upstairs to give us space. My father sat on our couch and said that things had gone too far. He said the family was falling apart and that it was my responsibility to fix it. I asked him how it was my responsibility when all I did was choose my own best man. He said that by refusing to follow tradition, I had created a situation where Nathan felt rejected and humiliated. He said that Nathan had always struggled with feeling accepted and that this was making everything worse. I pointed out that Nathan had spent 32 years making everyone around him miserable. My father said that was just Nathan's personality and that I needed to be the bigger person. I told my father that I was not going to change my mind. He stood up and said that I was making a huge mistake. He said that one day I would understand the importance of family and it would be too late. Then he left without saying goodbye. Rebecca came downstairs after my father drove away. She asked if I wanted to postpone the wedding. She said maybe we needed to let things calm down before we got married. I told her absolutely not. We were getting married in 5 weeks and nothing was going to stop that. The following week, I got a call from the venue coordinator. She said someone had called pretending to be me and tried to cancel our reception. The venue coordinator knew something was wrong because the person on the phone did not know our passcode. We had set up a passcode specifically to prevent anyone from making changes without our permission. The coordinator said the caller had gotten angry when she asked for the code and hung up. I called my parents immediately. My mother answered. I asked her if she or Nathan had tried to cancel our venue. She said she did not know what I was talking about. Then she said that maybe this was a sign that the wedding was not meant to happen like this. Maybe it was the universe telling me to reconsider my choices. I told her that if anyone in the family tried anything like that again, they would not be invited to the wedding at all. She said I could not uninvite my own parents. I said I could and I would. Then I hung up. Hendrix called me that night. He said my mother had contacted him on Facebook. She had sent him a long message explaining the family tradition and asking him to step down as best man. She told Hendrix that he was a good person and that he would understand why this was important. She said that Hendrix could still be a groomsman and that nobody would think less of him for doing the right thing. Hendrix said he did not respond to the message. He wanted to check with me first before he said anything to her. I told Hendrix to ignore the message completely. He asked if I was sure about all this. He said he did not want to be the reason my family was fighting. I told him the same thing I told Rebecca. Nathan was the reason. Nathan had been the reason for 32 years. This was just the first time someone was refusing to go along with it. 2 weeks ago, Nathan posted something on social media about fake people and betrayal. The post said that some people will smile to your face while stabbing you in the back. It said that blood means nothing to some people and that success makes others jealous. 23 people liked it. My mother commented saying that truth always comes out eventually. Rebecca's mother called her yesterday and asked if everything was okay. Apparently my mother had called Rebecca's parents and told them that Rebecca and I were having problems. My mother said that wedding planning was very stressful and that she was worried about us. Rebecca's mother asked Rebecca if we needed help with anything. Rebecca told her that we were fine and that my mother was exaggerating. The wedding is in 3 weeks. I sent out a final email to my entire family yesterday. I explained that Hendrix was my best man and that the decision was final. I said that anyone who had a problem with this was welcome to skip the wedding. I also said that any further attempts to interfere with our wedding plans would result in immediate removal from the guest list. My mother has not responded. Neither has Nathan. My father sent back a one-word reply that just said disappointing. Hendrix is still my best man. The venue is secure. Rebecca and I are moving forward. Whatever happens at the wedding will happen, but I am not backing down on this. Update 2: The wedding happened 2 weeks ago. I need to write about what actually went down because it was nothing like I expected and now my entire family situation is different. Nathan did show up to the wedding. So did my parents. I had arranged with venue security to keep an eye on Nathan throughout the night. I told them he might cause problems and to stay alert. The ceremony itself went fine. Hendrix did an amazing job as best man. He kept me calm before we walked out and he remembered the rings. Nathan sat in the back with my parents during the ceremony. I saw him staring at me the whole time but he did not say anything. The reception started normally. Rebecca and I did our first dance. My father gave a toast that was about 2 sentences long. He said congratulations and that he hoped we would be happy. Then he sat down. My mother did not give a toast at all even though we had put her on the schedule. When the DJ called her name, she just shook her head. About an hour into the reception, Nathan got up and walked to the DJ booth. I was talking to some friends from college when I saw him. He grabbed the microphone before the DJ could stop him. The music cut out and everyone turned to look. Nathan started talking about brotherhood and loyalty. He said that some people forget where they come from. He said that he had spent his whole life looking out for his little brother only to be tossed aside for a cousin who barely knew me. Hendrix was standing next to me when this happened. He started walking toward Nathan but I grabbed his arm and told him to wait. Nathan kept going. He said that Rebecca had changed me and that I was not the person I used to be. He said that family should always come first but that some women make men forget what matters. Rebecca was sitting at our table and I saw her face go red. Nathan said that he wanted everyone to know the truth about what kind of person turns a brother against his own blood. That was when venue security moved in. 2 security guards walked up to Nathan and asked him to put down the microphone. Nathan tried to pull away but one of the guards took the microphone from his hand. Nathan started yelling that he was not finished talking. He said that everyone needed to hear the truth. The guards escorted him toward the exit and Nathan was screaming the whole way. He called me a coward and said I would regret this for the rest of my life. My parents got up and followed Nathan out. My mother was crying and my father looked straight ahead as they walked past our table. They did not say anything to me or Rebecca. They just left. The DJ put music back on and people started dancing again. A few relatives came up to me and said they were sorry that happened. My Aunt Hannah hugged Rebecca and told her she looked beautiful. Hendrix made a joke about how at least the entertainment was memorable. Everyone laughed and the party continued. But here is where things get complicated. 3 days after the wedding, my cousin Lillian called me. She said she needed to tell me something that she had been keeping quiet about for months. She said my mother had been calling family members since last year telling them that Rebecca was abusive toward me. My mother had apparently created an entire story about how Rebecca controlled my finances and isolated me from family. Lillian said my mother had been asking relatives to help stage an intervention before the wedding. Lillian said she did not believe any of it, but that she wanted me to know what was being said behind my back. She also said that Nathan had been helping my mother spread these stories. They had been working together to turn family against Rebecca for almost a year, since before I even proposed. I called my Aunt Hannah to ask if this was true. She confirmed it. She said my mother had called her multiple times asking her to talk sense into me. My mother had sent Hannah articles about emotional abuse and manipulation tactics. Hannah said she had tried to tell my mother that Rebecca seemed perfectly nice, but my mother insisted that Rebecca was just good at hiding her true nature. I felt sick. Rebecca had been dealing with this for a year and nobody had told us. I asked Hannah why she did not say something sooner. She said she did not want to cause drama before the wedding. She thought maybe after the wedding everything would calm down. Rebecca took the news badly. She cried for an entire evening after I told her. She said she could not believe my mother had been lying about her to the whole family. She asked what else my mother might have said and to how many people. I did not have answers. I tried calling my mother to confront her about the lies. She did not answer my calls. I left 3 voicemails. In the last one, I told her I knew what she had been doing and that she needed to call me back to explain herself. She never called back. My father finally called me a week after the wedding. He said my mother was very upset and that Nathan was talking about cutting me off completely. He said the wedding humiliation was bad enough, but now I was calling my mother a liar. I told him that she was a liar and that I had proof. He said I was exaggerating things Rebecca had told me. I asked him how he knew Rebecca had told me anything. He did not have an answer for that. The conversation ended with my father saying that I needed to apologize to Nathan and my mother if I wanted to remain part of the family. I told him I was not apologizing for anything. He said that was my choice, but that I should not expect things to go back to normal. Then he hung up. Rebecca and I talked about what to do next. She said she did not want me to lose my family over her. I told her that my family had shown me who they really were and that I did not want people like that in my life. She said we should at least try to fix things. I said there was nothing to fix. I have not spoken to my parents or Nathan since that phone call with my father. None of them have reached out. My mother's Facebook profile shows she has been posting inspirational quotes about toxic people and setting boundaries. Nathan posted a photo of him and my parents at dinner with a caption about people who matter. I am not tagged in any of it. Hendrix has checked in on me a few times. He said he is sorry things went this way. I told him he had nothing to be sorry for. He was exactly the best man I needed. Some relatives from my mother's side have started calling to ask what happened. I have been telling them the truth about the lies my mother spread. Some believe me. Some seem skeptical. My uncle Clark called me last week and said I was destroying the family by spreading rumors about my own mother. I told him to ask Hannah if they were rumors. He hung up. Rebecca's parents have been supportive. They told us we can spend holidays with them and that we are always welcome. Rebecca's mother said that some families are not worth the pain they cause. I am starting to think she is right. Update 3. It has been almost 2 months since my last update and I think this is where the story ends. Things have not gotten better with my family and I do not think they will. My mother sent me a letter 3 weeks ago. It came in the mail with no return address, but I recognized her handwriting on the envelope. The letter was 4 pages long. She wrote about how I had embarrassed the family at my wedding. She said that Nathan had been devastated by being excluded and that his behavior at the reception was understandable given what I had put him through. She said that a son who truly loved his mother would not have humiliated her in front of the entire extended family. The letter went on about how she raised me better than this. She said she sacrificed everything to give Nathan and me a good life and that this was how I repaid her. She said Rebecca had manipulated me into becoming someone she did not recognize. The last page said that until I was ready to apologize and make things right with Nathan, she could not have a relationship with me. She signed it Mom. I showed the letter to Rebecca. She read it twice and then put it in a drawer without saying anything. Later that night she told me she was sorry this was happening. I told her it was not her fault. She said she knew that, but she still felt bad about it. I reminded her that my mother had been lying about her to relatives for over a year. That was not something a normal person did. I wrote back to my mother. I kept it short. I said that I would not apologize for choosing my own best man or for having a wedding where I felt comfortable. I said that her lies about Rebecca were unacceptable and that she needed to take responsibility for her actions. I said that if she wanted a relationship with me, she would need to apologize to both Rebecca and me. I mailed the letter to my parents' house. 2 weeks went by with no response. Then my father called. He asked if we could meet in person to talk about everything. I said no. I told him that if he wanted to talk, we could do it on the phone. He said some things were better discussed face to face. I said I was not interested in being ambushed or lectured. He got quiet for a minute and then agreed to talk on the phone. My father said that my mother was hurt by my letter. He said she had been crying every day since she received it. He said that Nathan had stopped coming to family dinners because he could not stand being reminded that I had rejected him. My father said the whole family was suffering because of my decisions. I asked him if he thought lying about Rebecca was acceptable. He said my mother never lied, she just shared her concerns with family members who cared about me. I told my father that calling Rebecca abusive when she had done nothing wrong was lying. He said my mother was worried about me and that sometimes worry makes people say things they do not mean. I asked him why neither he nor my mother had apologized if they did not mean it. He said they were waiting for me to take the first step toward reconciliation. I told my father I was not taking any steps toward anything until my mother apologized to Rebecca. He said that would never happen because my mother did not believe she did anything wrong. I said then we had nothing more to talk about. He started to say something else but I hung up. Nathan sent me a text message last week. It was the first direct contact I had gotten from him since before the wedding. The message said that I was dead to him. It said I had chosen a woman over my own brother and that I would have to live with that choice. It said he hoped I was happy with my decision because there was no coming back from this. I did not respond. I blocked his number. Rebecca and I spent Thanksgiving with her parents this year. It was quiet and nice. Nobody yelled or made passive-aggressive comments. Nobody brought up family drama. We ate turkey and watched football and played board games. Rebecca's dad told embarrassing stories about her from high school. Her mom showed me baby photos. It felt normal in a way my family gatherings never did. Rebecca's mom asked me at one point if I missed my parents. I said I missed the idea of having parents who cared about my happiness more than their own pride. She patted my hand and said that sometimes the family we choose is better than the family we are born into. I did not say anything back but I think she was right. Some extended relatives have stopped talking to me completely. My uncle Clark unfriended me on Facebook. My cousin Lillian still texts me sometimes but she said my mother has stopped inviting her to family events because Lillian refused to pick a side. My Aunt Hannah calls every few weeks to check on me. She said my mother and Nathan are closer than ever now. They apparently have dinner together twice a week and spend a lot of time talking about how I betrayed them. Hendrix asked me last month if I regretted anything about the wedding. I told him no. I said the wedding was exactly what I wanted and that having him as best man was the right choice. He said he was glad because he still felt bad about how everything turned out. I told him he had nothing to feel bad about. He stood up for me when my own parents would not. Rebecca and I are doing fine. We are settling into married life. We repainted the living room last weekend. We adopted a cat from the shelter. We are planning a trip to Colorado next summer. Life is moving forward without my parents and Nathan in it. I do not think I will hear from my family again unless I apologize, and I am not going to apologize. I did nothing wrong. I chose someone who respected me and my wife for a position of honor at my wedding. I refuse to give that position to someone who has spent his entire life being cruel to everyone around him. That should not be controversial, but in my family it was enough to end relationships. People keep asking me if I am sad about losing my family. I tell them I lost my family a long time ago. I just did not realize it until they showed me who they really were. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. I thought my fiancé's best friend was just immature, but he's been systematically bullying me for 2 years. Little did I know my own best friend has been encouraging him the whole time I need advice on a situation that's been eating at me for months. My boyfriend Samson, 29M, and I, 27F, have been together for 3 years and got engaged 6 months ago. Everything between us has been great except for one major problem: his best friend Morgan, 28M. Samson and Morgan have been friends since middle school. They went to the same college, lived together for 2 years after graduation, and now they're business partners in a small digital marketing company they started together. Morgan is the kind of person who can charm anyone when he wants to. He's funny, confident, and always seems to know exactly what to say. Everyone loves him at first. The problem is that Morgan has been making my life miserable for the past year and a half. It started small. He would make little comments about my clothes, my job, or things I said. When I first met him, he asked what I did for work. I told him I'm a librarian at the public library. He laughed and said something about how that must be nice to have such an easy job where you just sit around reading all day. Everyone else laughed too, so I tried to laugh along. Then it got worse. He started making up stories about things I supposedly said or did. At Samson's birthday party last year, Morgan told everyone that I had complained about the restaurant being too expensive and that I made Samson pay for everyone's dinner. That never happened. Samson paid for his own dinner, and I paid for mine. I tried to correct him, but Morgan just grinned and said I must have forgotten. The worst part is that Morgan seems to know exactly which buttons to push. I've always been sensitive about my weight. I'm not overweight, but I've struggled with body image issues since high school. Somehow Morgan figured this out. He started making comments about how much food I was eating or suggesting that I might want to skip dessert. He would do it in front of everyone, always with a smile, like he was just being helpful. About 6 months ago, Morgan called me while I was at Samson's apartment. Samson and all their friends were there watching a game. Morgan was on speakerphone, and suddenly he yelled that I was a terrible girlfriend and that Samson deserved better. Then he hung up. Everyone just sat there staring at me. Samson looked embarrassed but didn't say anything. I went to the bathroom and stayed there until I could stop shaking. That night, I told Samson everything. I explained how Morgan had been treating me and how it was affecting me. I barely slept anymore. I dreaded going to any event where Morgan would be there. I had started making excuses to skip group hangouts. Samson listened and promised he would talk to Morgan about it. A few days later, Samson told me he had spoken to Morgan. He said Morgan apologized and felt bad about the phone call. Samson assured me that Morgan would stop the comments and that Samson would defend me if anything else happened. I believed him and tried to move forward. But things didn't really get better. Morgan became more careful about when and how he made his comments, but they continued. He would wait until Samson stepped away to use the bathroom or get drinks. He would make jokes about my appearance or my intelligence when Samson couldn't hear. When Samson came back, Morgan would be perfectly friendly. The situation with Morgan has been affecting my relationship with Samson too. We started arguing more often about small things. I would get upset when Samson wanted to hang out with Morgan, and Samson would get frustrated because he couldn't understand why I was still bothered if Morgan had supposedly apologized. 3 weeks ago, everything came to a head. We were at a bar with the usual group of friends. I had gotten my hair cut shorter that week and felt good about how it looked. Morgan spent the entire night making jokes about my haircut. He called me a soccer mom. He asked if I was going through a midlife crisis. He suggested that maybe I should grow it back out because short hair didn't suit my face shape. I kept waiting for Samson to say something, but he was talking to other people and didn't seem to notice. Finally, I asked Morgan if he could please stop commenting on my hair. He made 3 more jokes after that, each one meaner than the last. Then he said I was being too sensitive and couldn't take a joke. I left the bar and walked home. Samson found me there 2 hours later. I was sitting on our couch, still in my jacket, staring at the wall. He asked what was wrong, and I told him I couldn't do this anymore. I said I was tired of being Morgan's target and tired of Samson not protecting me. That's when Samson admitted the truth. Morgan had never actually apologized. When Samson talked to him months ago, Morgan had said he was sorry that I was too sensitive to understand his sense of humor. Samson had lied to me about the apology because he thought it would make me feel better and hoped the situation would just resolve itself. I told Samson that I was done with Morgan. I didn't want to be around him anymore, even if it meant missing events or gatherings. Samson agreed that Morgan's behavior was wrong and said he understood why I felt that way. But then Samson started asking me what this meant for his business partnership with Morgan. They had several big projects coming up, and Samson was worried about how my decision would affect their work relationship. He also mentioned that Morgan was supposed to be his best man in our wedding. I told Samson I would never ask him to end his business partnership. I knew how important their company was to him, and I didn't want to be the reason he lost his livelihood. But I also told him that if Morgan was in our wedding party, I would call off the wedding. I couldn't stand at the altar knowing that someone who had spent 2 years trying to tear me down was standing right behind my future husband. Samson said he needed time to think about everything. That was 3 weeks ago, and we still haven't started planning our wedding again. Every time I bring up setting a new date or booking a venue, Samson changes the subject. Last weekend, we ran into Morgan at a coffee shop. I hadn't seen him since the night at the bar. As soon as he saw me, his whole demeanor changed. He was overly friendly, almost aggressively nice. He kept touching my arm while he talked, asking if I was enjoying my coffee, and grinning at me in a way that made my skin crawl. Samson noticed too and seemed uncomfortable, but he didn't say anything. After Morgan left, I told Samson that the encounter had made me realize I would never be comfortable around Morgan again. Even if Morgan completely changed his behavior, I would always be waiting for the next comment or the next joke at my expense. My best friend Henley, 26F, is engaged to Morgan. This complicates everything because Henley and I have been friends since college. She's always been there for me, and I was supposed to be her maid of honor when she marries Morgan in 4 months. But now I don't know how I can go to their wedding. Henley doesn't seem to see the side of Morgan that I see. When I've tried to talk to her about his behavior, she says that's just how he is and that he doesn't mean anything by it. She thinks I'm being too sensitive. I love Samson, and I want to marry him. But I also can't spend the rest of my life walking on eggshells around his best friend. I don't know what to do anymore. Samson seems torn between protecting me and maintaining his friendship and business relationship with Morgan. Am I being unreasonable? Should I just try to tolerate Morgan for Samson's sake? Or is it fair for me to ask Samson to choose between his best friend and me? Update 1. Thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. The support meant more to me than you know. I want to update you on what's happened since then. After I posted here, Samson and I spent several long nights talking about the Morgan situation. At first, Samson was defensive. He kept saying that Morgan wasn't really that bad and that maybe I was misinterpreting his jokes. But as we talked more, Samson started to see how much damage his inaction had caused. I think the turning point came when I asked Samson how he would feel if one of my friends treated him the way Morgan had been treating me. Samson tried to say it was different, but then he stopped talking and just sat there for a long time. Finally, he admitted that he would hate it and would expect me to defend him. Samson also started remembering things differently. He told me about times when he had noticed Morgan making comments to me but had dismissed them as just Morgan being Morgan. He realized that he had been making excuses for his friend's behavior instead of protecting me. We decided that Samson would send Morgan a message explaining exactly what behaviors were unacceptable and demanding that they stop completely. Samson wrote several drafts, and we worked on it together. The final message was firm but not cruel. Samson explained that Morgan's comments about my appearance, my job, and my personality were hurtful and needed to stop immediately. He also mentioned the phone call incident and how inappropriate it had been. Samson sent the message on a Tuesday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, Morgan had responded with what I can only describe as a complete meltdown. Morgan's response was 3 pages long. He started by insulting Samson, calling him weak and saying that I had turned him against his oldest friend. He denied that most of the incidents had happened the way I described them. He said I was lying or exaggerating to make him look bad. Then Morgan demanded that Samson meet him in person to discuss the situation. He said they needed a neutral third party to mediate their conversation because clearly Samson wasn't thinking straight. He suggested Samson's older brother Tom, 32M, as the mediator. The strangest part was that Morgan threatened to go to Samson's parents and tell them his version of events. He said Samson's parents deserved to know what kind of person their son was marrying. Morgan is 28 years old, and he was threatening to tattle to his friend's parents like we were all still in elementary school. Samson was shocked by how extreme Morgan's response was. He had expected Morgan to either apologize or get defensive, but not to completely lose his mind. Samson showed me the message, and we both agreed that Morgan's reaction proved he wasn't someone we could reason with. Samson responded calmly. He told Morgan that he wasn't interested in meeting with a mediator because this wasn't a business dispute. He also warned his parents that Morgan might contact them and explain the situation so they wouldn't be caught off guard. Samson's parents were supportive. His mom called me directly to say that they had always thought something was off about Morgan but hadn't wanted to interfere. She said they were proud of Samson for finally standing up for me. But the real shock came from Henley. 2 days after Samson sent his message to Morgan, Henley sent me a massive text message. It was even longer than Morgan's response to Samson. Henley's message completely sided with Morgan. She said I was being dramatic and that Morgan's jokes were harmless. She claimed that I was trying to isolate Samson from his friends and that I was controlling and manipulative. She said Morgan was just trying to help Samson see what kind of person I really was. But the most hurtful part was when Henley rewrote history. She described events that I remembered completely differently. According to Henley, I was the one who had been rude to Morgan from the beginning. She said I had made snide comments about his business and had rolled my eyes whenever he talked. None of that was true. Reading Henley's message felt like being punched in the stomach. This was my best friend, someone I had known for 6 years. I had been her maid of honor when she got engaged. I had helped her pick out her wedding dress. And now she was calling me a liar and a manipulator. Samson read Henley's message and was furious. He said it was clear that Morgan had poisoned Henley against me and that she was just repeating whatever lies he had told her. But I started to wonder if Henley wasn't as innocent as I had thought. Looking back, I realized that Henley had been present for many of Morgan's comments about me. She had never said anything to defend me. She had laughed along with his jokes and had told me I was being too sensitive whenever I complained. Samson and I decided to respond to Henley one more time. We sent a short message explaining that we were disappointed in her response and that we wouldn't be attending her wedding. We said we needed space from both her and Morgan and didn't want any further contact. Henley didn't respond to that message, but Morgan sent Samson another message the next day. This one was shorter but somehow even more unhinged than the first. Morgan accused Samson of being in an unhealthy relationship. He said I was controlling Samson and isolating him from his friends. He claimed to have evidence of my manipulative behavior but didn't provide any specifics. Morgan said he had been planning to have this conversation with Samson in person if they had met with the mediator. The message ended with Morgan saying that he could never forgive me for breaking up their friendship. He said that if Samson ever came to his senses and left me, Morgan would be willing to apologize and rebuild their relationship. Samson and I read that message together and just looked at each other. There was something almost laughable about how dramatic and self-important it was. Morgan was acting like Samson and I were characters in some soap opera instead of real people making reasonable decisions about toxic behavior. Samson immediately blocked Morgan's number and deleted him from all social media. He also started the process of dissolving their business partnership. It's complicated because they have existing contracts and clients, but Samson's lawyer says it's doable. The hardest part has been realizing that both Morgan and Henley were willing to completely rewrite reality to make me the villain. They took situations where Morgan had been cruel to me and somehow twisted them into examples of me being controlling or manipulative. Samson has been amazing through all of this. He admits that he should have handled the situation better from the beginning, but he's made it clear that he's choosing me and our relationship over his friendship with Morgan. We've started planning our wedding again. Samson asked Tom to be his best man instead of Morgan, and Tom was honored to accept. We set a date for next spring and booked a venue last weekend. I know some people might think we're overreacting by cutting Morgan and Henley out of our lives completely. But after reading their messages and seeing how quickly they turned on us, I don't think there's any other choice. These aren't people who made mistakes or had misunderstandings. These are people who are willing to lie and manipulate to get their way. The situation isn't completely resolved yet. Samson is still dealing with the business partnership dissolution, and I'm sure there will be more drama as word spreads through our social circle. But for the first time in months, I feel like Samson and I are truly on the same team. Update 2. I wasn't planning to post another update, but several people have asked for one, and some significant things have happened that I think are worth sharing. The business partnership dissolution has been messier than Samson anticipated. Morgan initially refused to cooperate with the lawyers and claimed that Samson was abandoning their clients without proper notice. Samson had to document everything to show that he was handling the transition professionally and giving clients adequate time to make other arrangements. Morgan also started spreading rumors in their industry about Samson being unreliable and difficult to work with. Samson found out about this when 2 potential clients mentioned hearing negative things about him. Fortunately, Samson had enough positive references and a good reputation that most people didn't take Morgan's complaints seriously. The financial aspect of dissolving the partnership was complicated too. They had shared business accounts, equipment, and ongoing contracts. Morgan initially demanded a larger share of their assets, claiming he had contributed more to the business. Samson's lawyer had to go through their financial records to prove that wasn't true. During this process, Samson discovered some things about Morgan that he hadn't known before. Morgan had been padding his expense reports and charging personal purchases to the business account. Nothing huge, but enough to show a pattern of dishonesty. Samson's accountant estimated that Morgan had improperly used about $3,000 of business funds over the past year. When Samson confronted Morgan about this through their lawyers, Morgan claimed it was all legitimate business expenses and that Samson was trying to cheat him out of money. But the documentation was clear, and Morgan eventually had to repay the amount. Samson also learned that Morgan had been talking badly about him to their mutual friends for months, long before our confrontation. Several people told Samson that Morgan had been saying I was controlling and that Samson was changing for the worse since we got engaged. Morgan had been planting seeds of doubt about our relationship and about Samson's judgment. This revelation hit Samson hard. He realized that Morgan hadn't just been targeting me, he had been undermining Samson too, just in a more subtle way. Morgan had been positioning himself as the loyal friend who was concerned about Samson's well-being while simultaneously sabotaging Samson's other relationships. The situation with Henley has been equally eye-opening. After we told her we wouldn't attend her wedding, she reached out to our mutual friends to get them to pressure us into changing our minds. She told people that I was being vindictive and trying to ruin her special day over a minor disagreement. Our friend Lisa, 29F, called me to ask what was really going on. Lisa had been at several gatherings where Morgan made his comments about me, so she had witnessed some of his behavior firsthand. When I explained the full situation to Lisa, she said she had always felt uncomfortable with how Morgan treated me but hadn't known how to address it. Lisa also told me something that made everything click into place. She said that at Henley's bachelorette party 2 months ago, Henley and Morgan had both been making jokes about me and Samson. They had been speculating about whether our marriage would last and making bets about how long it would be before Samson got tired of my sensitivity. According to Lisa, Henley had been laughing about how Morgan could get me upset so easily and how I always overreacted to his harmless teasing. Henley had even suggested that Morgan should dial up his behavior at their wedding to see if he could make me cry. When Lisa told me this, everything suddenly made sense. Henley hadn't been brainwashed or manipulated by Morgan. She had been an active participant in targeting me. She had enjoyed watching Morgan upset me and had encouraged him to continue. This realization was somehow worse than finding out about Morgan's true character. Morgan had never pretended to be my friend. But Henley had been my maid of honor, my confidant, someone I trusted completely. She had been plotting against me while pretending to care about me. Samson was horrified when I told him what Lisa had shared. He said it explained why Henley's defense of Morgan had been so fierce and why she had been so quick to turn against me. She hadn't been defending her fiancé, she had been protecting herself and her own involvement in the situation. Lisa also told us that several other people in our friend group had been uncomfortable with Morgan's behavior but hadn't spoken up because Henley always defended him. With Henley's support, Morgan had felt free to escalate his targeting because he knew he wouldn't face any real consequences. We decided to cut ties with Henley completely. Samson sent her a brief message explaining that we had learned about her involvement in encouraging Morgan's behavior and that we wouldn't be maintaining any relationship with her going forward. Henley responded with another long message, this time trying to downplay what had happened at her bachelorette party. She claimed Lisa had misunderstood or exaggerated what was said. She insisted that she had only been joking and that she really did care about me. But her message also revealed more of her true feelings. She said I had always been too sensitive and that my relationship with Samson had made him boring and antisocial. She claimed that Morgan had only been trying to help Samson maintain his personality and independence. Reading that message, I realized that Henley had never really been my friend. A real friend wouldn't encourage someone to deliberately upset me. A real friend wouldn't make bets about my marriage failing. A real friend wouldn't spend months plotting ways to make me uncomfortable. Samson blocked Henley's number after reading her message. He said he was disgusted that someone we had trusted had been working against us for so long. The good news is that several other people in our friend group have been supportive once they learned the full story. Lisa has been especially helpful in setting the record straight with mutual friends who only heard Morgan and Henley's version of events. Samson's brother Tom has also been great. He told us that he had never liked Morgan and was glad Samson had finally seen his true character. Tom said Morgan had always struck him as someone who enjoyed causing problems but was good at avoiding consequences. Samson and I have been going to couples counseling to work through some of the trust issues that developed during this situation. Not because our relationship is in trouble, but because we want to make sure we handle conflicts better in the future. Samson admits that he should have protected me from the beginning, and I've learned to be more direct about my needs instead of hoping problems will resolve themselves. Our wedding planning is back on track. We've had to make some adjustments to our guest list since we're no longer inviting Morgan, Henley, or the few people who sided with them. But honestly, our wedding will be better without people who were actively rooting against our relationship. The business partnership dissolution should be finalized next month. Samson has already started getting new clients and is considering taking on a different business partner who he's known and trusted for years. Looking back, I can see that Morgan's final unhinged message about Samson being in an abusive relationship was pure projection. Morgan was the one trying to control and manipulate Samson by undermining his other relationships and making him doubt his own judgment. I'm grateful that this all came out before our wedding. I can't imagine how much worse it would have been to discover Henley and Morgan's true feelings after we were married and they had even more opportunities to cause problems. Update 3. This will be my final update on this situation. I know some people have been following along, and I wanted to provide closure on how everything turned out. The business partnership between Samson and Morgan was officially dissolved 6 weeks ago. The process took longer than expected because Morgan tried to contest several aspects of the agreement, but ultimately Samson's lawyer was able to finalize everything. Samson ended up having to pay Morgan a settlement that was higher than what Morgan deserved based on his actual contributions, but Samson decided it was worth the extra cost to be done with the situation permanently. Morgan made one final attempt to cause problems during the dissolution process. He contacted 3 of their biggest clients and told them that Samson was unstable and that they should consider switching to a different marketing company. One client was concerned enough to call Samson directly to ask about the situation. Samson handled this professionally. He explained that he and his former partner had philosophical differences about how to run the business and that he was committed to providing excellent service to all his clients during the transition. He provided references from other satisfied clients and offered to meet in person to discuss any concerns. 2 of the 3 clients decided to stay with Samson. The 3rd client chose to switch companies, but they told Samson it wasn't because of anything Morgan had said. They had been considering making a change anyway for unrelated reasons. Samson's new business is doing well. He decided not to take on another full partner but instead works with several freelancers and contractors on different projects. He says he prefers this arrangement because it gives him more control over his work environment and the people he collaborates with. Henley and Morgan got married 3 weeks ago. We obviously didn't attend, but we heard about it through mutual friends. According to Lisa, the wedding was nice but smaller than originally planned. Several people in our friend group chose not to attend after learning about the situation with us. Lisa told us that Henley seemed tense throughout the wedding events and that Morgan made several comments about missing his best man. Apparently, Morgan asked Tom at the reception why he hadn't been invited, and Tom told him directly that he didn't approve of how Morgan had treated me. Henley reached out to me one more time about a month before her wedding. She sent a message asking if we could meet for coffee to talk things through. She said she missed our friendship and wanted to clear the air before her wedding. I showed the message to Samson, and we both agreed that there was nothing to be gained from meeting with Henley. Her previous messages had made it clear that she didn't understand why her behavior was wrong and wasn't genuinely sorry for what she had done. I sent a short reply telling Henley that I wasn't interested in meeting and that I wished her well in her marriage. I didn't explain my reasoning or get into the details of why I was declining. There was no point in rehashing everything again. Henley didn't respond to that message, and I haven't heard from her since. Our wedding is in 6 weeks, and the planning has been going smoothly. Our guest list is smaller than we originally intended, but everyone who will be there genuinely supports our relationship. Samson's brother Tom has been an excellent best man, and my sister Maisie, 29F, is my maid of honor. Several people have asked us if we regret how we handled the situation with Morgan and Henley. Some mutual friends think we could have tried harder to work things out or that we overreacted by cutting them off completely. Samson and I have talked about this extensively, and we both feel confident that we made the right choice. Morgan's behavior wasn't a misunderstanding or a series of bad jokes. It was a deliberate pattern of trying to undermine my confidence and my relationship with Samson. Henley's participation in encouraging this behavior showed that she wasn't the friend I thought she was. We also learned some additional information that confirmed our decision was correct. Lisa told us that Morgan and Henley had continued talking about us negatively even after we cut contact with them. They had been telling people that Samson was making a mistake by marrying me and that our relationship wouldn't last. Even more concerning, Lisa heard from someone who worked with Morgan that he had been making inappropriate comments about me to people who didn't even know me. He had been describing me in ways that were designed to make me sound unstable and unreasonable. This pattern of behavior showed us that Morgan wasn't just someone who made poor jokes or had boundary issues. He was someone who enjoyed causing problems and was willing to spread lies to make himself look better. Samson has completely moved on from the friendship with Morgan. He says he feels relieved not to have that toxicity in his life anymore. He's also learned to be more selective about his friendships and more willing to set boundaries when people cross lines. I've learned some valuable lessons too. I spent too long trying to be understanding and accommodating when I should have been more direct about setting boundaries. I also learned to trust my instincts when someone's behavior doesn't feel right, even if other people are telling me to ignore it. The couples counseling we did was helpful in improving our communication. Samson and I both feel more confident in our ability to handle conflicts together and to support each other when outside people try to cause problems. Our relationship is stronger now than it was before this situation started. Going through this together and seeing how Samson ultimately chose to support me has made me more confident in our partnership. Samson has shown me that he's willing to make difficult decisions to protect our relationship, even when it costs him financially and socially. We've also built stronger friendships with the people who supported us through this situation. Lisa has become a much closer friend, and Samson's relationship with his brother Tom has grown stronger too. I know some people reading this might think the whole situation was overblown or that we could have handled it differently. But I'm glad we took a firm stance. Morgan and Henley's behavior after we confronted them proved that they weren't people we could trust or maintain healthy relationships with. Sometimes people show you who they really are, and the best thing you can do is believe them the first time. Morgan showed me that he enjoyed making me uncomfortable, and Henley showed me that she was willing to participate in hurting someone she claimed to care about. Samson and I are focused on our future together now. We're excited about our wedding and about building a life with people who genuinely support us. We've learned to value quality over quantity in our relationships, and we're both happier for it. That's where things stand now. I don't expect there will be any more updates to this story. Morgan and Henley are out of our lives permanently, and we've moved on to better things.